Hey everyone, so welcome to the October webinar. If you don't already know me, my name is Robin Livesey. Today we're going to go over several different items related to the Uplevel gateway and several product updates that we have in store. We recently were at a conference and in talking to partners found that there were a lot of questions related to the popular verticals, what partners are using us for, and why specific verticals are working so well. So we wanted to set the record straight. Our product has evolved significantly since we first launched several years ago, and it's now allowing partners the ability to unlock more customers than ever and expand geographically along with their revenue into previously untapped markets. So to start things off, let's get some polling going and see what you think the average number of devices connected to an Uplevel gateway at each site is currently for our end customers. So you should see a poll pop up on your screen here in just a second. You can click any of the options in that poll. Yeah, there it goes. Select any of those different options for the ranges that you think our average in customer deployment is number of devices per site. Give everyone a little bit to answer that. So it looks like the majority of people, about 55%, said less than 20 devices. The actual answer is 64. The average number of devices connected to an Uplevel gateway at any given site is actually 64 devices. So it's the one that absolutely no one chose. It's that 61 to 75 value, which is always really fascinating. So we've introduced a lot of features over the last 18 months that have dramatically changed our customer landscape. So since 2018, we've had several game-changing features from VoIP QoS, content filtering, and WAN failover in 2.0, then a 5-tera NAS, multiple instances of IPS-IDS inspection, reporting, and dynamic DNS in 3.0, and then most recently in WAN load balancing, geo-blocking, HIPAA compliance in 3.1. But now we're introducing 3.2. This includes improved MFA, HIPAA audit logs, faster WAN failover, activated SFP ports on switches, enhanced diagnostics, and inventory view, as well as more. But just as a teaser, our 4.0 release is going to be the biggest game changer yet, so keep your eyes out for an announcement about that in the coming months. There are tons of features that are just around the corner as well. So first things first, let's set the record straight. Who are we seeing deploy the Uplevel system and why? Like I said, the average deployment size of our gateways is 64 devices. This number even surprised us. The other fascinating trend that we're seeing are the two different ways this breaks out. First, by dollars, which vertical is bringing in the most dollars for MSPs, which is going to be transportation or logistics, property management, and engineering companies. These are all small offices under 100 employees with the potential large geographic areas. These specific verticals are growing really quickly, so we see tons of MSPs getting into these verticals early with the opportunity to get in and grow rapidly as they acquire additional sites, additional services, and expand across the nation. But the second way we're seeing partners categorize who is using the Uplevel gateway is by adoption rate. When you look at the number of small businesses flocking to the Uplevel system, you see that medical and retail and financial markets are in desperate need of compliance. And though they may not be expanding geographically like the first three, they certainly are a much larger quantity available in the market. So it's a very large group for MSPs to go and grab. This makes it really easy for MSPs to create a turnkey compliant solution for customers to make scaling an MSP streamlined. So these are really two different ways we see partners attacking markets by volume and by geographic expansion. But it turns out that there are some key reasons that MSPs are getting their foot in the door in the first place. Customers are having internet connectivity issues. They need the ability to remotely access and scale their business, and their phones just aren't ringing when they should. Or they need to be compliant. Especially, they need their stuff to just work as it's supposed to. So this leaves a huge door open for MSPs. So you'll see here for the top verticals, you have a ton of overlapping issues from quality to the access or the ability to access data across the nation, but most importantly, all of these different verticals and their needs are under 100 employees. So even though these verticals may not have anything to do with one another on paper, there are some serious commonalities among their IT needs, surely based on their employee size. Like I said, all of these verticals are typically 100 employees or less, right at Uplevel's sweet spot, which also means that these small businesses can grow quite a lot under Uplevel, and so can their devices under management for MSPs, making the small customer, who may not have made any sense to manage in the past, now be incredibly profitable. Uplevel also addresses all of their key needs: internet reliability, HIPAA compliance, multi-site linking, and geographic expansion, but most importantly, it is easy to afford and has a low barrier of entry so that MSPs can land customers quickly, make money supporting them, and customers can afford it. That means that $10,000 they were going to spend in equipment costs can now be put towards growing their business and expanding your services. And that time you were going to spend configuring their complicated systems, linking sites together, and setting up phones, you can now spend finding new customers. So here is another question for you. For all of these up to 100 employee sites, what is the most common issue we see in support? And there's a hint. We said this actually in the last webinar. So go ahead, guess which one you think is the most common support issue we see. Give it just a little bit longer for everyone to answer. See what those results were. Oh, we can get the results. Yeah, there they are. Yeah, so you're right. ISP connectivity is certainly the biggest issue that we see across support. But the important thing to note here is that internet connectivity issues can all masquerade as VoIP, Wi-Fi, DNS, and IP conflict issues. They can look like anything from my device keeps disconnecting from the Wi-Fi to I can't get to Facebook to even my phone calls are dropping, but my internet works just fine. This is usually a pesky issue that customers call swearing up and down that something is wrong, but you go in, test it out, can't reproduce it. You even have the ISP come out, test the line, they can't reproduce it. But the issue is really the fact that the ISP speeds fluctuate every second and can leave absolutely no trace of any problem before or after, meaning that you have to catch it red-handed. Just last month, we saw a major ISP experience a national outage affecting partners across the country from Texas to the Carolinas. But this wasn't an entire outage. In fact, it was passing traffic every couple of seconds, making the line technically up, but running a speed test showed that for 30 minutes, consistently the ISP went to 0 3 out of 5 times. That's 60% of the time you have 0 bandwidth. Now, the ISP might technically be up, but you and the customer know that this is far from working, which means that the customer experiences an issue connecting to one computer, but everything else just seemed to work fine on other machines. Running the speed test is what showed that there wasn't actually anything wrong with the computer. The other computers on the network were just getting a little bit lucky. So these pesky issues can easily cause a ton of irritation and make finding the actual problem really difficult. So for customers wanting to expand, wanting to work remotely, wanting to move data into the cloud, they need a reliable connection back to their offices, data and applications that they're running. This makes these customers heavily dependent on the ISP speeds and its stability, because, well, those cloud applications are only as good as the internet connection to the cloud in the first place. And the MSP or the infrastructure usually get blamed for these issues since they are often the pieces of equipment the customer can reboot or the people they can call. But the worst part of all for the customers is the large amount of trouble it is to change ISPs when they finally get fed up. Well, this is where SD-WAN comes in for small businesses. For a single site, customers need reliable connectivity to the cloud-based services through either a primary or a secondary link added together for a larger overall throughput and redundancy on the network, or a simple failover for when the primary link goes down to keep the site connected to the data and major systems, while simultaneously prioritizing time-sensitive packets. When a customer opens a second office, they will need the same connectivity back to the cloud-based services and data, or maybe it's not a second office, maybe it's the business owner who just had a baby and needs to be working from home. Whatever the case is, they need reliable connection to get back to work. But they also need connectivity back to the other site for locally stored data and applications, where again, the site-to-site connection between them is only as good as the internet connection at each. But this isn't just scalable for one or two offices. The prioritization of packets and measuring of latency and the automatic failover of when links go down ensure all sites are always connected together. This means for logistics companies with trucks across the nation reporting in their location, or property management companies with work orders flying at all hours of the day, these systems can always stay up regardless of a single ISP's instability in the nation. So, were you paying attention a second ago? What is the current number of maximum sites one customer can have to VPN together for the Uplevel system? So this was actually in a previous slide. So what's the current maximum number of sites a single customer can have site-to-site VPN together? So we'll give it just a little bit. Yeah, awesome. Okay, the majority of you got it right. It is 32. Very random number, but this is correct. So that means with 100 employees per site and 32 sites possibly connected for a single Uplevel customer, the Uplevel gateway can actually go pretty far for a single customer. Oh, let's get rid of this polling. So why is Uplevel's SD-WAN solution good for small businesses? That's because we've created an SD-WAN solution specifically for small business needs. That's to say we only expose the services that create a major impact and remove the costly additions that often get in the way during configurations to make a cost-effective, easy-to-deploy solution. This makes it easily scalable and saves you installation time and cost so that you configure and support only the services that they need. We actually have tons of partners who will pre-configure systems and then drop ship them, the equipment, out to remote locations or sites with simple networks with instructions on how to plug it in. The customer then hooks up their new system and boom, they're connected back into the main office wherever they are in the nation, saving the MSP time and installation. This means customers save money while also keeping their small businesses reliably connected to their cloud services, VoIP calls ringing when they should, and it keeps the customer independent of the ISP. So they can switch when they want because they're no longer required to stay because of their static IPs or the reconfiguration of them. But of course, this all comes at no upfront cost. So another poll for you, which of these companies, and there will be a multiple choice option here so you can choose as many as you want, are required to be HIPAA compliant? Yeah, so this is a multi-choice, so you get more than one option. So who is subject to HIPAA compliance? All right, let's see those results. So definitely orthodontists, that's absolutely correct. Drug addiction counselors, for sure. Unfortunately, veterinarians are not. Accountants, maybe, depending on what they do. But here is who is always required to be HIPAA compliant. Anyone who touches personal information of consumers related to healthcare information needs to be HIPAA compliant. In addition to doctors, who we all expect, this also includes dentists and orthodontists, drug addiction counselors, any psychiatrists, insurance agents that provide healthcare insurance. Of course, the MSPs that support these customers have to be compliant too. So what is HIPAA? So HIPAA stands for the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, which sets the standard for sensitive patient data protection. Companies that deal with protected health information must have physical security, network security, and process security measures in place and follow them to ensure HIPAA compliance. Covered entities or anyone providing treatment, payment, and operations in healthcare, and business associates or anyone who has access to patient information and provides support in treatment, payment, or in operations must meet HIPAA compliance. Other entities, such as subcontractors and any other related business associates, must also be in compliance. This is a lot of people. This means that doctors and MSPs supporting them must all be compliant. The most important part of HIPAA compliance is actually that technology can't make HIPAA compliance, but it can absolutely break it. So for the technology piece, BAAs or business associates agreements, network security, both from the LAN and the WAN perspective, and auditing are some of the key components to keeping your technology piece in compliance. But your people and practices or processes also must be in compliance too. So Uplevel provides easy compliant deployments to customers with built-in protection, BAAs to certify compliance, and now the ability to download extensive audit logs directly from the dashboard for efficient auditing, a new and improved MFA login system to keep the dashboard secure, and the ability to use an on-site Active Directory server to manage either the Uplevel NAS or any other NAS. This is opening the doors for doctors across the nation to become compliant in a cost-effective way. So what do you need to do to make the Uplevel NAS HIPAA compliant? There are service agreements available outlining all of the requirements of the gateway, but simply first, you must register for an Uplevel BAA. This is crucial. At that point, we will record extensive logging in the gateway for compliance and auditing purposes. The IPS-IDS must also be enabled, and devices cannot be connected through any third-party switches because, well, if we can't manage it, we can't certify it. Wi-Fi passwords must contain 8 characters, with at least 2 being special. The storage can only be used along with an Active Directory server. Ports on the firewall can't be open to known vulnerable devices, end-of-life devices, or non-updated devices. However, all of this means that with only a few specifications, you can take a customer from being non-compliant and at risk to thousands of dollars in fines to securing their technology piece. For many MSPs, this is unlocking a huge number of customer opportunities surely by the number of compliance violations issued every year and the publication of offenders. So I've been hinting at various different items that are included in the 3.2 release this whole time, but it's time to officially talk about what is new. So the goal for this release was to expose features that have been requested by MSPs to make deploying and supporting easier, as are all of the features we implement in any case. However, this specific release is particularly really focused on troubleshooting features and compliance ability. You'll notice some of these have actually been in the backend for a while. However, the issues they address are becoming more and more prevalent that it only made sense to make them available to you in the dashboard for customer deployments. You now have a diagnostics view for troubleshooting issues, the ability to override recovery mode during boot up, a new and improved MFA functionality, a hardware inventory view, downloadable dashboard audit logs, and management server audit logs for HIPAA, the ability to have an on-site AD manage the storage of the Uplevel NAS, that's huge, and SFP ports on the switches. So with 75% of support cases having to deal with ISP connectivity issues, Wi-Fi interference, or top talkers on the network, we now have the ability to find these issues quickly and efficiently, save you and the customer time by checking the ISP speeds first to make sure that weird loading issues isn't actually an ISP or Wi-Fi interference issue in disguise. With the new MFA, you can now use any authenticator you want. Now you don't have to worry about entering a phone number or finding a text message. Choose from your favorite authenticator, scan the QR code, and you are on your way. There are also a new inventory view. Now at the end of the month, you can see exactly which customers have what equipment for easy reference. Now you can download extensive dashboard and management server logs as well, keep track of all the changes that have been made in the network and on the dashboard and see who exactly made them. This also means that the audit information is always at your fingertips in the event an audit ever happens for efficiency. And of course, the interoperability of an on-prem Active Directory server and the Uplevel NAS so that the AD can manage access to the NAS. This largely expands HIPAA offerings to improve compliance and make deploying to customers much easier. So how do you do some of these things? You'll see several new options in the dashboard, the most prominent being the new diagnostics view in the left-hand pane. This is where you can run bandwidth tests, Wi-Fi scans, and top talkers tests. This will dramatically reduce the time spent in diagnosing odd problems that may have been caused by poor connectivity. You can easily run a long bandwidth test up to a week to show customers how often the ISP fell dramatically, like it did here. Now, when the ISP says everything is fine, you can show them the actual raw data. MFA is a slightly more hidden option located at the very bottom of the account settings page, but by enabling MFA, you can choose any authenticator that you would like, from Google to Duo Mobile and even Microsoft as your multi-factor. All you have to do is hit the enable option where you'll immediately be logged out. Once you log back in with your username and password, you'll be prompted with a QR code to scan into your authenticator, linking the two together. Now, when you log in, you'll be prompted for a code from that authenticator. Please note, and this is super important, if you delete the authenticator account, this does not delete an MFA and disable it on the Uplevel dashboard. It will still ask you for that code to log in. So that's crucial that you disable it on the Uplevel dashboard before ever deleting the authenticator account or the accounts inside of the authenticator. Also, please take note that of the recovery mode when you're initially setting up the account, located just below that submit button. So the other thing to note is the inventory view up at the top. This is also going to be in that settings page like the My Account option and MFA. So that's where you'll be able to see any new customers, their equipment that's currently assigned to them. So all of these features in the release are available via firmware update. We have already begun pushing out upgrades to partners, so keep an eye out on your email for when your upgrade has been scheduled for. These upgrades do take place at night or during off hours to avoid disruption to customers. So please let us know if the upgrading time selected does not work for you. We're more than happy to change it. The upgrade will take about 30 minutes to complete and will reflect the new features immediately in the dashboard. No power cycle is required from your end. The gateway will come back on its own, but it will do a simple reboot. We're also incentivizing partners right now who deploy 5 new customers by the end of the year with a $500 Amazon gift card. No weird gimmicks, just simply deploy 5 new customers and get free cash for the holidays. This is a really easy way to both get new customers, bring in more revenue, and have money for gifts for the holidays. Additional release information can be found on YouTube and Dropbox. We'll be adding additional information and videos this weekend, so keep your eyes out for more. There'll be obviously subsequent emails along with that to come about the release in the next few days, so keep your eyes out for that, but those are always great resources to reach out to if you ever have questions. Also, make sure to check out our newest case studies and your individually branded collateral, also located in Dropbox. These are great resources to use when pitching to new customers about the value of the various different items of Uplevel products and what other customers are seeing and MSPs are seeing in the markets.